Nice.
Okay, high mountain. So the high mountain peak that you see on screen here is easily one of the single largest mountain peaks on all of Azeroth. And the high mountain range that surrounds this massive mountain is full of untamed wilds, deep canyons, fertile valleys. It goes all the way up to icy peaks. Here's a look at the in-game map for High Mountain, and you can see it's kind of central to the continent and all the way in the far north. And the peaks and valleys of the High Mountain range have been the domain of 3 ancient Tauren clans for millennia. And the clans that live here are actually the direct descendants of the Tauren that fought in the War of the Ancients. And united for many years, the 3 clans, Rivermane, Skyhorn, and Blood Totem, have lived in peace for the last several generations, until very recently, when the cave-dwelling Drogbar have risen up and stolen their most sacred artifact. Now this has fractured the unity of the Tauren clans, and the Drogbar have seized this opportunity to strike at the Tauren in an attempt to claim all the Tauren territories for themselves and rule all of High Mountain. So the Drogbar, they're a cave-dwelling culture that were once enslaved to the great dragon aspect Neltharion. They're a shamanistic race with great elemental control over earth magics. And their strong, brutish appearance can kind of hide their cleverness and their deep attunement to the land. And you're going to meet a wide variety of Drogbar throughout High Mountain. Now this is a look at one of the Drogbar chieftain. You're going to cross paths with this guy several times, and ultimately I think you're going to come into contact with him in a dungeon in Neltharion's lair. Now this is another type of Drogbar. Now these guys are a little bit more diminutive, a little bit smaller than their bigger, burlier brothers and sisters. But they're no less dangerous. These guys in particular are skillful shamanistic warriors. And the High Mountain range is infested with all sorts of territorial creatures, like these brand new alpine harpies here. And the creatures that you find in High Mountain, like these harpies and the Etten, they're going to be significantly larger and more aggressive than the cousins of these types of creatures that you may have found elsewhere on Azeroth. But High Mountain is also rich with wild natural beauty, where all manner of beautiful creatures graze the fields, like these awesome moose here, cousin to the High Mountain Tauren, and they're cute little babies. Or calves, I should say. And here's a look at the High Mountain Tauren themselves. Now you can obviously see their most distinctive feature are these antler-like horns that they sport. Now both the males and the females have them. The females are a little bit more petite. They have a range of different horns. And if you take a look at the male here, you can see that his horns, his antlers, are inscribed and decorated. And they do this to define and designate a particular clan affiliation, or even the rank within a particular clan. Now let's take a look at some of the awesomeness of High Mountain.
Awesome. Thanks, Jules. All right, let's talk about High Mountain. Absolutely one of my favorite zones. Absolutely. That's the truth. So when we started working on High Mountain, we were greatly influenced by the Swiss Alps and Yosemite, but not just for the zone itself, but for the Tauren as well, because we wanted to advance the Tauren culture, but not too much that became unrecognizable from their traditional tribal look that we really all love. So we also wanted to do a traditional pine forest, but we didn't want it to be so typical. So we explored some different shapes with their canopy and their unique, silhouettes for their trunk. And we came up with this piece. This piece became our foundation. From here, we could start to build pieces that would go along with the zone. We have our trees, we have our sky. We could even think about how to incorporate other creatures into the zone. Look at these great concepts for the Tauren. This was awesome. You know, working on this zone, someone said that this working here was like the best harmony they felt between the design team and the art team, much like the harmony between the Tauren themselves, and we thought that was really cool. It was really fun working on this zone. Some zones, just everything comes together, and it did with High Mountain. So let's take a look at a really cool video that showcases our latest version of High Mountain.
Okay, Suramar. So our mission to fight and defeat the Burning Legion will ultimately lead us all here to Suramar. And while the lands of the Suramar zone were hit pretty hard in the Sundering, the capital city of ancient Suramar itself stands not only intact, but remains a thriving elven metropolis. Now here's a look at the in-game map for Suramar. Now it's central to the continent and it connects to all the zones of the Broken Isles. All but one, in fact. And you might notice there's a pretty massive city down there in the southeast. And while the lands of Suramar were hammered by the Sundering, the city itself was protected and saved by a defensive spell cast by the combined might of the city's most powerful mages. And to do this, they harnessed the power of a pure arcane well within the Grand Palace of Suramar. And they were able to create a massive shield dome that protected the city and stayed in place for 10,000 years. And they kept it up for 10,000 years because they believed that the outside world was completely obliterated and what remained out there was just overrun with demons. And so the elves within Suramar City became dependent on the energies of the well and are now completely reliant on it as a source of living energy. And the well itself has now become an abused and corrupted power source that's now known as the Night Well. And the Night Well shrouds the city of Suramar in perpetual darkness. Now, the elves within Suramar City are no longer true night elves. They've evolved into a unique elven species, now known as the Nightborn. And given little choice, the Nightborn leader, Elisande, has now brought down the shield, forged a pact with Gul'dan, and opened the gates of Suramar City to the Legion. Now, the concepts you see on screen here are some early concept work for the Nightborn elves. Now they're regal and highly intelligent and master arcanists, able to conjure all manner of weaponry and armor at will. Now this is just an early sneak peek at some of the Nightborn elves in game. This is an array of the males. Here's a look at some of the females, and you can see even in their clothing some of the conjured elements of their abilities. Now, within Nightborn society, crimes are punished by exile from the city. And exile's never a good thing for anyone, but for a Nightborn elf, it's particularly terrifying. Cut off from the city and the nourishment of the Nightwell, they suffer this terrible physical withdrawal. And the concept images that you see on screen here are for a faction that exists outside the city, known as Nightfallen. And here's a look at some of the Nightfallen characters that you'll meet in the Suramar zone.